Hello everyone and welcome to today's training video. I'm Matthew Byer and today we'll be going through the basics of OBS, or as it is more widely known, Open Broadcast System. Now for those of you who don't know, Open Broadcast Software, or OBS, is a screen capture tool that is used by teachers, students, and even gamers as well to record all sorts of video feed that is being recorded on their computer screen. So as such, I figured I'd just take the time to just go through OBS a little bit to show the ins and outs of it. The learning outcomes that you'll be expected to know about this is basically just to figure out how to set a scene in OBS, how to set the hotkeys in it, how to use the screen capture technology, how to adjust the screen settings, and how to adjust the file size. Now the first thing that I'm going to discuss about here is essentially just the basic layout that you find with OBS here. Essentially, OBS itself will be split into 5 different parts at the bottom. As you can see down here, you have the scenes, sources, the audio mixer, scene transitions, and then the control settings of all sorts of settings such as exit, start streaming, start recording, studio mode, and settings, and so on. And then up at the top here, we also then have the standard file edit and so on. In the file, you can find more options here to do. You can put in full screen interface if you want to, and a bunch of other stuff. Create new profiles, as well as new scene collections, more tools, and even other help locations too. Now the first thing that I'm going to show you here is how to create and set up a new source of the scene. Now a scene is basically what you are going to find on your computer screen. So essentially what you are going to do to create a new scene is to first go down to the corner here and hit the plus button that's right here. It'll then ask you to create a new scene for your demonstration, and for this I'll just put demo, and then we'll just hit OK. Now as you can see here, the screen that is showing up is different from the one that I had previously. Now this is because we actually do not have any of the sources added to our display here yet. And sources are essentially what are going to be needed in order to get all different things for it. You have basic things like your window capture, your video capture devices too, which, like say you have an Xbox or something, you'd get some sort of converter and then you'd connect to that converter through the video capture device. You can also put still images as well, various color sources, and even audio inputs too. But for this instance, we are actually going to use window capture, and then you can name it if you want to, but in this case I'm just going to hit OK. And then once it's put on here, you'll have everything then showing up here on the screen as well. I actually just realized I put the wrong one. Yeah, there are a couple other different options actually, so in this instance it's actually a good way to show you how to delete a source if you accidentally added the wrong one. In an instance like this, all you have to do is just go to the window capture here, right click on it, and then you just scroll up and hit remove. And then you just confirm that. Alright, now we'll redo every display capture that we wanted before, and hit OK. And then since this display capture will capture everything that's on your computer screen, and you won't have to worry about clipping. But of course there are other items that you can throw in here too. For example, if you're doing some sort of gaming, or just basically just any sort of meeting that would require the use of a webcam, you would basically just have to create a new video capture device, hit OK, and then from here you can then select your thing. Like for example, on my computer here I have the HD60 Pro, which allows me to capture game footage from the Xbox. However, in this case, I'm instead going to connect it to my webcam so that you can actually get a picture of me myself. Here I am. Center myself a little bit to actually help it a little bit. The one thing too about these files is that you can actually adjust the size of them too. This isn't the only available way to do it. You can obviously grab the corners here to shrink it to wherever you want. You can close that. Then when you control, Alt, yeah, Control and Alt, then you can even adjust the physical size of it too to make it smaller or taller or whatnot, depending on what it is you want to adjust my. Here. There we go. Okay. So, one important thing too that I should also mention is that you can also layer these files too here. Like, for example, like let's say, let's just add an image here. I'll add this picture of a dragon here. Now, let's say that you wanted to kind of layer these things so that it's in different ways so that you can have it appear things. Like, I'll set it like here, for example. Like, let's say you want the webcam to show up on top of this dragon picture. What you do then is that you would right-click on the item at the top, you go down to Order, and then you can either move it down one more, and it'll bring the webcam image that you had before back to the top. However, if instead you wanted it to be at the very bottom, I'll click on the webcam image for this. You would right-click on it, you would go down to Order again, and then hit the Move to Bottom. And it will bring it all the way down to the very bottom of the layers that you have here. And alternatively, if you wanted to bring it back to the very top, you basically just do the same thing in reverse, go to Order, and move to top. And it brings it back to the top yet again. Okay, so I got rid of that display just so that you're not seeing the mirror effect on the thing, but the next part of this demonstration then that I will show is the audio mixer. Now, the audio mixer is essentially the area that allows you to monitor the different audios that are available in the feature. It's that it comes in a variety of different areas. The first option here is the desktop audio. Essentially what that means is that if anything is being played on the desktop itself, it will be then picked up in the audio. It's one example of a campfire here going on. I have it playing on my second monitor, so you should be able to hear without having to see the video. But I can then adjust the video settings here so that you can hear all of it then, obviously. Or the other way then, I can adjust the level here so that you don't hear it at all. Now, this can come in handy, but one thing to note though is that you always want to be careful with the audio settings here. Is that depending on how low you have it, if you're hoping to pick up audio on the desktop, you won't be able to get it obviously if you forget to adjust this. So before you start recording, it's always a good idea to adjust the mic levels here too so that you can pick them up. And then if you set up a different microphone, it'll then show up in the mic aux area here then too. I have myself a microphone here as well, which is how it is able to pick up. And just like the desktop audio, I can also adjust the volume level. Well, also, you can even go into the settings here as well, and when you go into the filters, you have the option to actually enhance the audio even more. Like, you can go into the add here, and you can either limit the audio noise as well, have kind of a noise suppression in order to kind of cancel out any background noise that could potentially happen, and a variety of other ones too. I'm actually not going to add any. I'll just leave that as it is. And then, obviously too, there's other ones as well, but in order to, you won't always have to rely on that though. Like for example, let's say you have two different microphones set up and you want to switch it to the one. In order to adjust the different audio outputs, you would first want to go into the settings tab right here, and then you'll go over to the audio section here. Now once you're in here, you can then adjust the microphones as you see fit. Now obviously I only have one microphone set up here at the moment, so the first mic auxiliary audio is the only one that I really need, so I'll use this one. And then also too, for the desktop, you basically have the default setting, which is pretty much what you're going to want as well, but then you have various other ones here too, like I have my computer default mics, but I actually don't have it hooked up at the moment, so even if I were to have that selected, it wouldn't show up. Now on to the next part. Next part then that we are going to talk about is the hotkeys. Now, the hotkeys can be pretty useful to those who would prefer to just press a button and then move. Now, to adjust the hotkeys, you are going to want to go into the settings menu here, and then you're going to press the hotkeys button. Now, and then once you get onto the platform here, you can then obviously see that there are different scenes that I have a bunch selected here, since I actually do a lot of the stuff for gaming. And I have it already preset to a bunch of numbers here. To basically change it, you go to just click the line you want, and then you press the button that you want to apply it to. I have a wide variety of other options here. I actually already have it set up a different way though, so unfortunately when I'm pressing buttons here, it's already switching things, but essentially it'll change the scene then when you press the buttons. Now, I'm going to hit cancel here, but if you wanted to actually apply those, you would basically hit apply. But once you are done with that though, you can then switch the scenes, and I'll demonstrate this here by going through the scenes that I have already pre-selected on my machine. Now, I have a few set up here, and if you notice too down in the scenes, you will see that it is actually going through the different scenes that I have here. Now, it is pretty useful actually, and I use it quite a bit to hit the demo. And that basically demonstrates the transitions, but there's a little more to it than that though. Is that in the scene transactions here, you can also adjust the various ways that you transition between the various scenes. For example, I previously had set to cut, but if I go to fade here, then it'll do it a little bit differently. It's be a simple cut. It will actually just fade in and out, make it a bit of an easier transition between the two. Now, another important step that you're going to want to be sure of is basically the end location of where you put the files that you were recording. Now, in order to do this, you are again going to want to go into the settings. Once you are at the settings here, you're going to go to the output function here, and then go to the recording area. Now, every time you hit record, it'll basically depend on what you do next, where you can find those videos. So as you can see here, I have the recording path set to a folder called raw data. However, if I wanted to change that, I would hit browse, and then for this example, I will actually put it on the desktop, so put that there, and then you can see that it is already changed here. I will hit apply, and hit OK. Now for this next example, I will just minimize the screen here. Screen saver I've got. When I hit record here, you'll notice that immediately a new file will show up here. Now, as long as I have the record button going, it won't be accessible. But once I hit stop, I will then be able to reach this folder here. You'll notice that immediately, and then it's playing the demonstration then. But yeah, then you can be able to watch the video then too, to your leisure. But since we are on the topic of recording, I will then show you what we do to essentially ensure that we are able to record as well as stream, depending on what it is you want to do. Now, in order to really check those functions, you're going to want to go into the settings, obviously, again. From here, you will have a few options depending on what it is you want to do. If you want to stream something on, say, like Twitch, you will then want to go onto the stream setting here. Click on that. And then through here, you can select the service that you want. You can stream to YouTube, Mixer, Facebook, Twitch and so on. I'm going to keep it to Twitch though at the moment, so I don't change mine. Then you can switch to the server. And for this instance, it's always best to choose your closest location, and since I'm in Wisconsin, the best location for me is US East, the Chicago server. And then you would go on to Twitch and then grab your stream key and put that on here. And then for further information then too about the streaming, you will then go to the output, and then it'll already be pre-selected onto the streaming section here then too. Now essentially this part, most of the stuff here will be pretty basic already. Like it'll already be preset to kind of the default resolution settings, preferably the one that you will want, and it'll most likely already be selected to anyway, so it'll be 1920 to 1080, which is pretty much the best settings that you want it to be at. But then apart from that, you can also control the various rate control, the bit rates, as well as the buffer sizes, so it'll determine the upload speeds, as well as the video quality that it will come in. And then furthermore, if you also want to do similarly with the recordings, you can then go over to the next tab over, and you can also then just change the different formats of the recordings as well. You can change it to FLV, MP4 if you want videos, and actually MP4 will most likely be the one you want. But then there are a couple of other options here as well. I have the encoder here too. Typically you want the 264, and then you can also scale the resolution. And that concludes the training video for the basics of open broadcast software, OBS. I hope all of you found this informative. If you have any further questions, be sure to leave a comment down below. And when you're using OBS yourself and you need help, you can find more information at obs.com or through the help menu up here. And I wish you all the best of luck with all your screen capture needs, and all have a